One of the aims of this project is to cultivate intellectual independence. Rather than relying so much on the educational authority to say, yes, good job, that's complete, I like what you're saying, I want you to identify what is significant in the readings or the video or the lecture, whatever, and why. Synthesize the ideas you learn from the reading with other ideas, other experiences, other bits of knowledge that you have. Make connections between the words on the page and the broader world that you live in. Develop your own neglected insights or ideas in conversation, in dialogue with what you're reading, what you're hearing someone say. Even as I give you this lecture right here, thoughts are crossing your mind. Pause the video. Have a debate, talk back at the screen, explain why a claim or a statement by someone like Fromm is mistaken, or myself. I mean, that is the kind of critical exchange and dialogue that I'm looking for you to put on paper in the journal assignment. So let me now give you a couple of tips on how to do this journal, how to sit down and get that 151 plus words put onto virtual paper. So much of our educational life is directed by others that many of us do not feel adequately at home in the basic activities of reading and writing. We carry with us the weight, and I think interruptive, critical gaze of outside evaluation. People telling us that, we're reading too quickly, or we're reading too slowly, or we're not reading the right thing. We're not focused on what is important, which is another way of saying what they think is important. Or we're spending too much time on that one section, but we really need to be working on this other section. There's so much micromanagement of our minds. No wonder that so many people grow to dislike school. No wonder that so many people get burnt out. I mean, you can only stand so much of that kind of micromanagement in your life. We're told also not to bring personal experiences into conversation with the subject matter. We're encouraged to remain focused on the so-called, strictly speaking, facts and not on opinion. Now, I'm not disputing that there are facts in the world. It's just that there are also facts of our own experience. There are also facts that we encounter in other classes. And yet we're discouraged from relating what we're supposed to be learning to our own existing web of belief. And the very strange thing about that is we're really being discouraged from learning as a result. Because to learn means to fold an idea into our consciousness. It means to weave it into the existing web of our beliefs and understanding. And as psychologists have helped us understand, one of the best ways for us to really remember something, it's not just to play little linguistic games, though that's sometimes helpful, but it's to care about it. It's to care about a piece of information. And how do you care about a piece of information? Well, it's not unlike how you care about a person. You develop a relationship with that person. You share experiences. You make connections. Learning is something very similar. Lost in all of this micromanaging is the fact that learning is most basically motivated by a love of life. In relating what we learn to our life as human beings is of the utmost importance. Such a focus also aids us in growing our interest and aptitude in the very fields we are studying. The greatest thinkers in human history, you can talk about someone like Erich Fromm, you can talk about Adrienne Rich, great poet and essayist, you can talk about Audre Lorde, you can talk about Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. You can go on a very long list of great thinkers, Henry David Thoreau, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Plato. These thinkers were motivated by an enthusiasm, a passion for ideas. And that passion for living of life is what sustained their quest for greater knowledge. And that is true of the poets, and it is true of the scientists. So, To overcome this intellectual alienation that I've attempted to describe here, it's imperative that we create conditions to seize naturally occurring opportunities to feel sufficiently relaxed and open to encountering ideas that we read in a book, that we hear in a video or an audiobook, or simply those that are freely flowing from our own consciousness. Rather than having premeditated expectations of what is to come of our thinking and reading, we should permit ideas to more naturally emerge from our intrinsically motivated concerns about the world as they relate to what we read. All I mean there is just open up the text, start reading, start trying to comprehend what you're reading, and respond. Respond as you would to anything else in the world. You see a beautiful flower, you smell it, you look at it, you observe its colors, you see something strange, you look quizzically at it, maybe it's a person, you ask them some questions. Be curious and allow the naturally occurring questions or concerns or inspirations to flow from your thought process, and try to worry less, try to be less self-conscious about what the educational authority is going to say. So long as you're reading the assigned works, you're meeting the basic word count requirement, and you are, in some minimal sense, responding to the relevant prompt, and they're written to be very general, so that, so long as you're responding to the assigned readings, you're going to be fine. So try to go into it with a just genuine curiosity and write what starts coming to mind. You're halfway through the text and you got some ideas. Pause. Put those ideas on paper. You may be able to knock out that 151 word reflection in no time. We should also try to develop a practice of writing when we're struck with inspiration. This means that we should treat more seriously our thoughts and our insights. So in the same way that we might stop what we're doing to, answer a phone call, or answer a friend's question, or to respond to some kind of a social media post, we should also attend to the ringing bells of our own insight. We should stop, write down our thoughts, dictate it to a notepad on our phone. This is something that I do on a regular basis. If you find that writing is a little too tedious, or you don't have a pad of paper, or you don't have a laptop, pull out your phone, download a note app, and click that little microphone button and start dictating the thoughts that come to mind. Then email it to yourself, and that can be the rough draft of your opening reflection. Of course, you're going to have to fix some grammar, because you can only rely on those translating apps to some basic degree. But the point here is create space in your life, or create little or seize little opportunities to put your ideas onto virtual digital paper. Simply put, we should fan the flames of intellectual intimacy between our minds and the world that we're a part of. As it relates to the journal project, my hope is that you will strive to write with a degree of aliveness, that you'll embrace some intensity, that you'll embrace some passion, some concern, some basic interest in life. When we catch intellectual fire, we should feed that blaze. That's what I'm looking for you to do with this project. Final quick words. Attributes of the ideal journal entry. Generally speaking, the journal should be about 1/3 explanation of the relevant key idea or ideas, and about 2/3 original reflection. This is not a precise rule that I'm going to strictly enforce. The point is, you need to say something about the relevant reading, video, audiobook, lecture, or what have you. Pay homage to it. Acknowledge the idea that begins the conversation. Acknowledge that someone else had a thought, had an idea relevant to the course, and then use that to springboard into your own original thoughts. Make connections between what you've just read or heard or watched and your own experience, your own beliefs, your own knowledge. Again, you are encouraged to write freely. Your personal experiences are perfectly acceptable to be included. Movies you've watched, games that have inspired you, other classes you've taken, books you've read, and so on. All of this is permissible to draw on or to bring up as you write your reflection. When you stop placing up the boundaries that you've probably learned to place there around your thought processes, on the basis of your prior education experience, when you stop throwing up those walls, you're going to discover that you can write more than you realize. You can write more interestingly. A lot of students who complete my classes say that they never thought of themselves as writers, or they always thought their writing was terrible. And by the time they're done, they start to get a sense that they're not so bad, that they actually have some interesting things that they've written. And part of that enhanced self-confidence in their writing is just that they've experienced a little bit of freedom, that they've been a little less micromanaged. So, final quote that I'll leave you with by one of my favorite authors, author of an early dystopian novel called We, Russian author Zemyetin, once wrote, "There are books of the same chemical composition as dynamite. The only difference is that a piece of dynamite explodes once, while a book explodes 1,000 times." As you read the assigned material, identify something that is alive. Identify something that is meaningful to you, that provokes you positively or negatively, and let that idea inspire you to write your original thoughts.